welcome back for discussion part 2. What we are going to do is look a little bit more closely at this diagram, talk in a little bit more detail about the parts, and then we're going to talk about what's known as the two loops of the circulatory system, meaning how does the blood go between the heart and the lungs. So it's very interesting but very complicated. Watch this multiple times if you need to. Pause, take a moment to absorb the information, and then continue along. Reach out on Google Message, email, call if you have any questions or if you want any information explained in more detail. Following this video, I posted one of those kids' health cartoon videos. I've had one for every system. It does a nice job of summarizing the heart and how it works and kind of takes you on a trip through the different parts of the heart. So I think it's definitely a nice way to bring together the two videos of me teaching as a wrap-up. And this is what I would have done in class. I would have introduced the functions, the heart. You would have been creating this diagram. That would have been the only difference, and labeling it yourself. But then we would have had that summary video to bring it all together. So it's a good idea to follow that pattern of learning. So let's take a look again at this diagram. Remember, we have a left side and a right side of the heart. Again, keep in mind that your heart is a muscle, the hardest working muscle, working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, involuntary, meaning we don't have any control over it. It is happening without us having control, unlike me raising my hand or holding this pen or making a fist. Right? That is a voluntary muscle. These are involuntary. It's happening without us thinking about it. So the right side of your heart, again, you notice is shaded in blue. That blue is signaling that it's oxygen poor. The reason why I colored it blue, this isn't what your heart looks like inside your body, okay? That's always a common mistake when I have the students color code the diagram. But if you look at a diagram of the heart where they're trying to explain how the heart works, so if you go and Google something on PBS or a science website, these typically tend to be the colors they use to show oxygen poor as blue, which is your right side, and oxygen rich as red, which is your left side of the heart. But this is not what your heart looks like inside your body. It doesn't have a blue side and a red side, so I don't want you to get confused with that. This is just to help us keep in mind that we have a right side that's oxygen poor, carrying oxygen poor blood, and a left side that's carrying oxygen rich blood. So we mentioned in the last video, you have two atriums, and a singular of atrium is atria, okay? Excuse me, a plural of atrium is atria. So we have the right atrium, which is up here, and the left atrium, which is over here. And the atrium's job, they're the collectors of blood. They're the blood collectors, the blood that enters into the heart. So what type of blood are they collecting? The right side is collecting the oxygen poor blood. The left side is collecting the oxygen rich side. So just knowing which side is rich and poor is going to help you understand this better. Okay? So atrias, collector of blood. The right atrium, oxygen poor collector. The left atrium, oxygen rich collector. Then we have valves here. And those valves have names, but you'll learn about that in high school, so we don't have to get into those. But those valves will open and close to allow the blood to move from the atrium to the ventricles. So the oxygen poor blood from the right atrium is moving into the right ventricle. What does the right ventricle do? Well, the right ventricles are the pumpers of the blood. It's taking the blood out of the heart and bringing it somewhere else. Well, if it's oxygen poor, where do you think it's going to bring the blood? I'm going to pause, give you a second to think about it, shout it out. Correct, if you said that it's going to bring that blood that's oxygen poor to the lungs, because it will be able to pick up oxygen from the lungs, because the alveoli puts oxygen into our bloodstream. Okay, so let's go through that again. Right atrium, collector of poor blood. Valve opens, brings that oxygen poor blood to the right ventricle, and the right ventricle's job is to pump that to the lungs to pick up oxygen. Okay, let's jump over to the left side. Left atrium, we said, is collecting oxygen-rich blood. The valve opens, pumps it to the left ventricle. Again, the ventricle's job is to take the blood out of the heart. So if it's oxygen-rich, where do you think it's taking the blood? I'm going to pause and let you think about it. Correct. If you said it's going to bring it to the other organs of your body, to the cells in your body, you are right, because it is rich in oxygen. So one more time. Left atrium, oxygen-rich blood collector. Valve opens, goes to the left ventricle, whose job it is to pump it away from the heart. And since it's already rich in oxygen, it's going to pump it to the cells that need it. Because remember, the function of the circulatory system, one of those functions is to circulate or transport materials that our body needs to the cells and takes away what our cells don't need. So bringing what it does need, taking away what it doesn't. Now, how does it get to the lungs or to the body cells? The different arteries, which is another structure, because it's a blood vessel, another structure in the circulatory system. So two main arteries in the heart, the main artery in your entire body, the aorta. It's red, so think about if that's carrying oxygen-rich or oxygen-poor blood. I'll pause. If you said it's carrying oxygen-rich blood, you are correct. So that's how the oxygen-rich blood from the left ventricle gets pumped out to our body's cells. You have the pulmonary artery, which is shaded in blue. So take a second. Is that going to carry oxygen-rich blood or oxygen-poor blood? If you said oxygen-poor, you are correct. So this will take the oxygen-poor blood that's coming from the right ventricle, and through the pulmonary artery, bring it to the lungs where it can pick up oxygen and become oxygen-rich. So right atrium, left atrium. Right ventricle, left ventricle. Two arteries, aorta, pulmonary artery. So now that we know the parts and we know their jobs, the atrium's jobs to collect blood, the ventricle's job are to pump blood, and the arteries' jobs are to carry blood somewhere else. Now that we know their jobs, let's talk about the two loops of the circulatory system. Meaning, as those muscle relaxation and contractions happen to cause the heart to beat and pump the body between our blood and lungs, how does it actually do that? What is the path that it travels? So we call it two loops, which kind of makes sense because there's two sides of the heart. So first we start with the right side of the heart, the oxygen poor side. So the right atrium collects that oxygen poor blood. A valve opens up and pumps that oxygen poor blood into that right ventricle. That oxygen poor blood is going to be sent to the lungs through the pulmonary artery to pick up oxygen. And where's it going to pick it up in the lungs? From the alveoli that's going to put it into the blood. It doesn't stop there. So now that the blood is rich in oxygen, where's it going to go? Guess what? It comes back into the left atrium where it's collected. That left atrium then opens, there's a valve that then opens to pump the oxygen-rich blood from the left atrium into the left ventricle. From there, where does it go? It's going to go to your body cells through the aorta. Those are your two loops. One more time. The right atrium's collecting the oxygen-poor blood. A valve opens to pump it into the right ventricle. That right ventricle then sends that oxygen-poor blood through the pulmonary artery to your lungs. So those are going to connect to your lungs. Okay, so now we're seeing that interaction to pick up oxygen that the alveoli is going to put into it. Then that oxygen-rich blood is going to return through the left atrium where it's collected. The valve opens, pumps that oxygen-rich blood to the left ventricle. That left ventricle needs to deliver oxygen-rich blood to our body cells, and it does that through the aorta, the main artery in our body. And those are your two loops. And this keeps happening over and over again. It says about 1,000 times a day. This movement of blood between the heart and the lungs, back and forth, to pick up oxygen, to get rid of carbon dioxide and become oxygenated. It's going to happen about 1,000 times a day. And this all happens involuntarily through muscle contractions and relaxations without us thinking about it. I am going to include today as an attachment this color-coded diagram. So I'm going to take a picture of it and include it as a document for you to have as reference. There's nothing for you to do with it. If you have a printer, print it out, save it as a resource. If not, it's just going to be on Google Classroom for you to use. And then I have another one where I've actually labeled the descriptions of what the atrium do, the ventricles do, and the arteries. I'm going to take a picture of that and include that as well so you have it as a resource. And that might be helpful with tomorrow's assignment, because what you're going to have to do in the beginning of tomorrow's assignment is complete a sheet that goes over what the atriums and ventricles do and the aorta and the pulmonary artery, and also the two loops of the circulatory system. So yes, tomorrow there will be writing. Yes, I expect it done. I expect you to go back and use these resources that I provided with you today. So if you message me and say, where am I supposed to get this information? First thing I'm going to say is read the directions, because step 1 says go back to yesterday's resources. And then I'll point you back to my 2 videos from today. As always, make time for yourself. If the weather's nice, and I don't know if it's going to be because I film these on Saturdays, because I actually went to a retirement parade today. So I fixed up, I put some makeup on, actually fixed my hair. So I figured, wow, the kids will see me not looking so creepy and no makeup. I figured I would do that today. So I don't know if the weather's going to be nice when you're watching these videos, but if they are, take some time and take a break. Get outside with family, take a walk, take a bike ride, roller skate, skateboard, whatever makes you happy. If it's not nice, still take a break. Watch your favorite TV show. Do a Zoom video chat with your friends. Play a board game with your family, or do a puzzle. Puzzles are cool. Don't let anyone tell you they're not. But always take a break and make time for yourself. I make sure to do that, and sometimes it's hard for me because I want to make sure when you ask me a question that I'm right there to respond right away. But sometimes I have to say, you know what? Take a break, take a walk, take some time and enjoy. So please make sure you're doing that as well. Talk to you soon.